as he was inaugurated the 15th President of the United States in March of 1857. Democrat James Buchanan immediately faced a nation divided on the issue of slavery. The controversy over whether slavery would be extended into Western territories made its way all the way to the Supreme Court.
President Buchanan was forced to confront the slavery debate from the outset of his term because the Supreme Court issued its most significant ruling on the matter just 2 days after his inauguration.
Historian Mina Bose. He supported this Supreme Court ruling, the infamous Dred Scott decision that banned the federal government from regulating slavery in the territories, and said that no person of African descent could be protected by the Constitution as a citizen of the United States. In an effort to legitimize the Dred Scott ruling, Buchanan wrote to Justice Robert Cooper Greer, a fellow Pennsylvanian, and convinced him to support the Southern justices in the ruling for the appearance of Northern and Southern unity.
Buchanan's meddling in the Dred Scott case created a firestorm in the North at the very beginning of his presidency.
Historian Christopher Childers. Unlike the majority of Northerners, Buchanan had no moral objection to the existence of slavery. Buchanan said that slaves are treated with kindness and humanity. He added that both the philanthropy and the self-interest of the master have combined to produce this humane result. The Kansas-Nebraska Act, passed by Congress in 1854, established these two territories under the principle of popular sovereignty, meaning that the people of these territories would vote on whether to allow slavery. Following the passage of the bill, violence in Kansas ensued between pro-slavery settlers and the Free Soil majority. Buchanan sided with the pro-slavery settlers and appointed Robert Walker, a Mississippi native, governor of the territory. Unable to reconcile the Free Soilers, who were based in Topeka, and the pro-slavery Kansans, who organized in Lecompton, Walker resigned from his post. Buchanan continued to advocate for the admission of Kansas into the Union as a slave state. He pushed Congress to approve Kansas for statehood under the pro-slavery Lecompton Constitution, but Congress turned him down. Republicans and Northern Democrats alike stood in firm opposition to forcing slavery on Kansas. Buchanan's relationship with Congress deteriorated throughout his presidency. Republicans not only condemned Buchanan's efforts to expand the realm of slavery, but also his record of corruption.
The administration's use of patronage came under investigation, and so did bribing voters and granting lucrative government printing contracts to supporters who then returned a portion of their profits to the party.
Historian Gene Baker. Buchanan had also bribed members of Congress for votes on the Lecompton Constitution. Further damaging his relationship with Congress was Buchanan's penchant for vetoing bills that reached his desk. One bill that Congress passed would have funded the creation of more public colleges, but Buchanan vetoed it, pronouncing that there are already too many educated people. In his final year of the presidency, Buchanan saw that the nation was destined for breakup. "I am the last president of the United States," Buchanan lamented. On December 20th, 1860, South Carolina seceded from the Union. 10 more southern states would soon follow. Buchanan placed the blame for disunion on Northerners for taking issue with slavery. He blamed them for unnecessarily causing sectional tensions, and even going as far as calling Northerners disloyal.
Suddenly, this activist president offered the nation little more than rhetorical exercise that secession was constitutionally illegal, but that he could do nothing about it.
Gene Baker. William Seward, a Republican senator from New York, mocked Buchanan's position, saying, "No state has the right to secede unless it wishes to. It's the president's duty to enforce laws, unless somebody opposes him." The controversy over Fort Sumter, an island garrison off the coast of Charleston, South Carolina, was one of the most obvious signs that war was on the verge of breaking out. In January of 1861, Buchanan sent a civilian ship known as Star of the West to reinforce Fort Sumter. South Carolina state batteries fired on the ship and forced it to return to New York. War was imminent, but the army had become dreadfully weak under the Buchanan administration.
The resources were painfully inadequate. Most of the tiny 16,000-man army was scattered along the frontier, while most of the Navy's ships were patrolling distant waters or laid up for repair. The strongest armed forces during the winter of 1860-61 were the militias of the seceding states.
Historian James McPherson. Following his unsuccessful attempt to reinforce Fort Sumter, Buchanan was paralyzed by the impending Civil War. In his final weeks in the White House, Buchanan took no actions to counter Southern secession or Civil War, waiting for the newly elected Abraham Lincoln to confront the situation.
During the 4-month interval between Lincoln's election and inauguration, Buchanan had the executive power, but felt little responsibility for the crisis, while Lincoln had responsibility, but little power.
James McPherson. On his last day in office, Buchanan said to Lincoln, "If you are as happy, my dear sir, on entering the White House as I am in leaving it and returning home, you are the happiest man in the country." Buchanan was extremely qualified to be president. A lawyer by training, Buchanan served in both the House of Representatives and the Senate. He went on to become Secretary of State under President James Polk and Ambassador to Great Britain under his predecessor, Franklin Pierce.
Buchanan was the wrong president at the wrong time. Sterling credentials aside, Buchanan lacked the ability to deal with the issues he faced. His presidency seems to provoke many what-if questions from people who cannot escape the conclusion that many things went terribly wrong between the years of 1857 and 1861.
Christopher Childers.
The question remains why such an experienced and intelligent politician failed so miserably as President of the United States.
Gene Baker. Buchanan didn't realize that unlike his forgettable predecessors, he couldn't simply take no action to prevent secession and expect the Union to hold together. Buchanan was the only American president to remain a lifelong bachelor, which contributed to one of his most critical flaws, loneliness. He relied on his predominantly Southern cabinet for social companionship. Many of his closest aides and cabinet members were actively conspiring against the Union. They exploited Buchanan's dependency for their companionship to relay key information to Confederate leaders. After leaving the White House, Buchanan returned home to Lancaster, Pennsylvania, where he spent his days writing a memoir justifying the actions of his administration. Few found it convincing.